Hello, everybody. I am ready to finally, I believe, work on Jesus, Moses, and Elijah. So I'm going to have to flip my canvas so that I'll be working on them upside down. But anyway, I did this part. It needs work. My green is overdone. But I am ready to flip this thing around and get busy on Jesus, Moses, and Elijah. I went ahead and I did I just put black lines on there because some of them show them with 2 tablets with the numbers 1 through 10 in Roman numerals. I'm not going to do that. I think he is very identifiable this way. I'll probably put, like a darker gray on this side to show that they are not just a thin little thing. But I want to get this to looking as it is described. So I'm going to go back to my Bible and I'm going to read that in Matthew again. After 6 days, Jesus took with him Peter, James, and John, the brother of James, and led them, I get my lines mixed up, and led them up a high mountain by themselves. There he was transfigured before them. His face, this is what I need. His face shone like the sun, and his clothes became as white as the light. Just then there appeared before them Moses and Elijah talking with Jesus. Okay, that's what I need. There is a lot of brightness in this. This is going to go on our living room wall. So we'll probably put it in the video pretty frequently. But when Moses was walking in the desert, when he didn't get to enter the promised land, if you remember, but he still is an extremely important figure to both the Israelites and to the message of the Bible, the message of what is to come. But he took the Israelites and led them with his brother Aaron. They led the Israelites out of Egypt because the Pharaoh had wanted to kill them, a lot of them, because they were. Anyway, that was what Moses did. He was generations from when because the Israelites, they more or less kind of grew up from Joseph first, who became very good friends with the Pharaoh when he was there, and his father Jacob was renamed Israel, although it still refers to him as Jacob a lot, I think probably for our sake. His brothers followed later. They didn't even recognize Joseph for a while, but they did go later, and they had sheep. And the Egyptians, they did not like sheep, so they were given the land of the northern part up where that delta is, and the Nile, which was perfect for them. But that was pretty much where they lived. As they were walking along and talking together, suddenly a chariot of fire and horses of fire appeared and separated the two of them, and Elijah went up to heaven in a whirlwind. So Elisha, there's an Elisha that does too. Yeah. Anyway, but yes, Elijah, I just wanted to get that story straight and let you know I'm not making things up here. That, yes, that there is a biblical account that Elijah was taken up in a whirlwind, and he never had to die on earth. Thank you, dear. He keeps me lit. I know that means something different in today's vernacular, but anyway. So I looked through that passage yet again, and finally something struck me that had never really struck me before. There you go. The disciples weren't afraid until the cloud circled them. Jesus, when he first went up there, before Moses and Elijah even came, he had already got this bright, very bright appearance. His clothes shone white as white could be. His face was like the sun, and yet they had no fear, and they didn't question it. They'd seen Jesus do a lot of miracles, but this is something different. And then Moses and Elijah, and we've discussed that on another one, why they wouldn't be surprised at that. And through prophecy of the Old Testament, they even mentioned it in there after all this happened. But when Peter spoke up and wanted to make tents or someplace for the three to stay, that's when they got scared, because God put a cloud around them and he spoke. It says bright cloud. And then God spoke. That is when they got scared, when they covered themselves, when they fell on the ground or whatever. To me, that says that God is spirit, and he is so bright. We can't look on him. Not in our present state. But he could encircle them with that cloud and have the cloud be so bright that they would not be able to look at it without it being blinding or something. So that's just my take on it. Because why else would they not be afraid? Of course, they'd be afraid of of God's voice, God saying, "This is my son, in who I am pleased," or well pleased. But he also said that, right? It said brilliant cloud. That's why we call it there. Kind of see that? Okay, I'm going to use a little bit of black. And with this black, well, black always does go a long way, but Okay, I don't know what happened, but for some reason, the recorder on the camera didn't work for this here section, and I don't know why. I want to explain what is going on. Hold on, I need to fix things. Okay. I have decided instead of making Jesus have his hands up in the air and not knowing what to do with their friends. They have been in heaven together. And generally when we're in church, if we want to greet each other, we greet each other with a handshake. If we want to pray together, a lot of times we'll hold hands and pray. And that is why I decided to have Jesus holding hands with Moses and Elijah. And so, and now I will be able to put the cloud around them, and you can still see that they are being conversational. And so that will be my next part here, is to put that cloud around. Okay, I'm starting to paint that cloud around now, and I know they are supposed to be covered by the cloud, but I don't think you've seen any of these depictions where that's actually come around them, where it covers them so that we can't see them. But I do want to make that cloud come all the way around. I think you'll see here fairly quickly. It will come between them and the disciples. It'll go below them. And there's going to be things I'm going to need to fix. But this, I think, will be our final session on this. I asked Joe how long it had been. He said, it's been 2 weeks. I said, oh my gosh, you mean they stayed with me for 2 weeks on this one thing? And you guys really have. You've been such a blessing. And you've even said blessings to me and for me. And I just am so thankful for all of you. And I thank God for just giving you to me through this time and helping me to hopefully spread the right message. Well, it is to have God use whatever comes out of my mouth to bless you guys in some way, either through what you learn, or hopefully to understand a little more about Jesus himself and about God's power, because God's power is unbelievable. I could never begin to explain that. I don't understand it, that's why. But we do know from things that we've learned and been told that we cannot look on God himself. And I think that's why what this cloud is, and it says it's very, very brilliant. I believe that this cloud is God, his spirit form, and he is speaking through it so that the disciples will know that this is his time. This is his time with Jesus and those men, and he wants them to have this conversation, and then he wants them to listen. That's a part that I didn't get read. I don't believe in there, because it said, this is my son in whom I'm well pleased. Please listen to, or it said, listen to him. In other words, Jesus is the one that has the right information for you. If that makes sense. Well, yes, it makes sense, because that's why we study the Bible. That's why those of us who are Christians. So here's just about, I'm about ready to call it for this particular one. And okay, here it is. Okay. There it is, the finished, there. I was trying to get something out of the way, I'm sorry. It's finished. It is. I think that as for my particular talent, I'm not gonna I'm not gonna be sorry about it. I think it works. I think it brings that message, and that's the important thing. That's the most important thing. So, anyway, I thank you guys so much for sticking this out with me. I don't know if I can say that enough. Okay, I realize that my mouth is not going to be with my words. There was your kiss. Um, I do love you. I want you to take care of yourselves. And I just want to thank you and say, please come back. We'll be doing something different for a while. And be good. Good night.